If your income stopped tomorrow, would your system survive? You've worked hard, you've built something real, income, influence, impact. But here's a question nobody wants to ask. What happens if it stops? Today's episode is for the builders, the professionals who carry weight, who show up, who lead day after day. We're going to pull back the curtain on the financial blind spot no one's talking about. You've been trained to grow a portfolio, but not to protect the system that makes it possible. You. We'll show you how high achievers are using the infinite banking concept to protect their role, multiply their wealth, and take back control, even when life throws the punch. Because this isn't about making more, it's about becoming the kind of person who's built for anything. So ask yourself, if your income stopped tomorrow, would your system survive? Let's build one that does, and let's jump into it. Let's get started. The hidden fragility behind financial plans. So why is income protection such a massive blind spot for professionals who seem to be doing everything right? Showing up first, working later, working harder, constantly sharpening the saw, learning new skill sets, learning how to provide more value, how to answer more questions, to solve bigger problems. And what's the first business that we all want to be in? Do you guys know the answer? It's right in Nelson Nash's book. What is the first business? One of two businesses that every single American in person wants to be. You guys got it right. It's the business of making money. And there's lots of cool ways to make money, lots of it. And you guys are really good about making money, at making money. Did you know this? In the US, we are statistically, globally speaking, the best. Heads and shoulders, 49% above any other place in the world. Americans, according to this PEW Research Center, 56% of Americans were in the world's highest income group in 2011, compared to just 7% of the global population. Let that sink in for a second. We are 49% better, go America, than all the other countries in the world at earning income. But what happens when we aren't able to earn? If we're not showing up and plugging into the system and giving up control of our money, what happens to your financial system? Would it survive if your income stopped tomorrow? Answer in the chat. Would your family have the liquidity to keep going if you stopped? You know, high achievers need a resilient system, not just investments. For anyone who has their money out working for them, that's awesome. You're doing what Warren Buffett taught you to do. If you don't put your money to work, you're going to have to work until you die. At the same time, how much liquidity do you have? How much protection do you have? If somebody can take it away from you, do you really own it? Is it really yours? Ponder that for a second. If someone can take it away from you, if the system can stop because you, the earner, the builder, stops, is it really your system? Control matters. How prepared are you for the next event? And when I talk about event, it's the one question I ask all the time. What is guaranteed in life? I know you guys are thinking that it's death and taxes or divorce or marriage or something like that. But the easiest, breaking it down to the simple, boiling it down to simplicity, the one constant in life is change. Go back to the 20s, to the Great Depression. We've had 14 such events, and they typically are occurring about every 6 to 7 years. Sometimes they're closer together. I think in 2001 and 2, there was back-to-back, and then we didn't have anything from 2009, the great housing recession, all the way through the pandemic. So the frequency of expanding the system, of protecting ourselves for the event, really shows how resilient, how tough is our system, how tough is our money. And the opposite of tough is fragile. And we want to be anti-fragile. We know that change is guaranteed. We know that events and things will happen. So how protected are we at the system? I'm getting coach live time, which is awesome. So Your income is the engine. Most people never think to insure their income. We're taught to manage money once it comes in, right? We go work, trade our time, trade our energy, trade our focus for money. And then once it comes to our system, we think about the system. We think about what comes in, but we don't think about protecting the system that produces it. And most focus on, again, the money after it arrives. So you go do what our parents taught us, go out, trade our time for money, go add value, go work hard. And then when the money comes, do we have a system in place to protect us when we can't show up? When you're the builder, not only is your family counting on you, not only are the ones that love you counting on you, but your community, your peers count on you to stay strong. They count on you to be able to continue showing up and adding value to their lives because we're growing together. You can't do this alone. If you want to go faster, go alone. But to build something meaningful, to build what we're building in this community, we must build it together. Your income is the engine, and your income's not a given. We all think that we're protected. Like if you're in Florida, Florida's a right to hire and a right to fire state, as I learned back in my professional days as a recruiter. And so one day you can be the best on the team, the next day you can be unemployed. And we're taught how to go make money. Our parents taught us how to show up, how to go work hard, be humble, be the person that adds value and solves problems for others. What happens when that shuts off? We think about going and earning money. I already told you we're 57 or 49% better than the rest of the world at earning money. And we have lots of money flowing through our fingertips every single year, every month, for decades. Think about how much money you've probably earned over the last decade. How protected was the system? What would have happened if you couldn't have continued? So we're focused on managing the money after it arrives. But IBC, the infinite banking concept, helps you or functions even when you can't work, when the right protections are put in place. When you're a builder, your family, your community, and those around you, maybe those that you employ, are counting on you to stay strong. Now, you already know about Jared Adams, but he's a pilot. He is a peer of my co-host of the Wealth Wise Banking podcast, and we just dropped an episode with Jared and we interviewed him. And what he learned, if you're someone, a professional who has to take tests, who has to do medical exams on a yearly basis, whether you're a pilot or a physician or somebody who has a lot of responsibility, what happens when you're no longer able to do the thing? Well, Jared learned that the hard way. And thankfully, he had built a resilient system that let him continue to provide and protect and create for his family, for his loved ones. And he shares that story. And when that happened, when he couldn't fly, when he was grounded, when that all stopped, he said to us, I wish I had something that worked when I didn't, when I couldn't, when I was grounded. And thankfully, he had already learned about this system, was able to start the process, and he shares that story. So you're not just managing the wealth, you're protecting your role as the provider, the creator, the leader, the decision maker, a builder. And you're not protecting it out of fear. You're protecting your role out of the possibility that something might happen. You're thinking long term. When people are counting on you to stay strong, leadership is making sure you have the contingencies built in to protect your system. And read that title right there. You are the guarantee. What happens when you can't do what you're doing anymore to illness, injury, or a failed exam? That thought can be disorienting. This might be a little bit heavy for some of you that are used to getting up, working hard, being diligent, being someone who is practicing discipline that we talked about recently, right? You're doing what's right. You're showing up. You have self-awareness. You're adding value. But What happens when you can't do these things? Again, this is where infinite banking comes in. It helps you protect this role that you have taken on in your life and the life of those around you. You often don't realize, or you might have not thought about yourself as the system. If you stop, everything else does too. This is what pilots, surgeons, business owners, one test, one diagnosis, one disruption might lead to a pause, and it might be immediate. And this is where you have the guaranteed insurability rider. This is where the product that is used, especially engineered whole life, has riders that can be added to protect you when you can't work. And that tool, yes, there might be some cost, but that tool, those dollars per day or per year, is worth the assurance, is worth the feeling of control, knowing that your system, your family, your people are protected. And you can expand that coverage even if your health doesn't cooperate later, depending on how it's set up. This is what is purchased when someone adds a term rider for a period of time. If it's convertible, you can lock in that insurability and you're able to lock in your health today. I was actually just talking to Shane about this. You can lock in your health today when you're healthy because we don't know what might come up in the future. Now, I know all of you, right? I know this crew, you guys are very much focused on eating clean, on making sure you're taking care of yourself, making sure because you understand anyone can have thousands of problems, but when you have a problem with your health, you have one problem. So, locking in that insurability when you're healthy today for the event, the change that may come, making sure that you have it to where you have a waiver of premiums added in. These are all things that are available when you're looking at the infinite banking concept and the products that are especially engineered for you, for your situation as the builder. Again, you're not just earning the paycheck, you're leading a life, and your leadership means being the guarantee that everyone can count on. It's a system worth protecting. And that control isn't a luxury, it's leadership. Having that leadership means having the ability to act without waiting for permission. You know, you may have believed at some point that control is dangerous or selfish. If you're looking out for yourself, putting on your oxygen mask, especially the moms that are listening, you might think, hey, I have to worry about everyone else first, my spouse, my kids, everyone else before me. But we know when you aren't good, when you're not taking care of yourself, the whole system falls apart. Everyone around you is not as good as they could be. And so if you associate that control with something that's dangerous or selfish, how about looking at it as a way of guaranteeing safety? It means what will happen in a moment of crisis or a moment of opportunity. We always talk about building an opportunity fund. And we're taught as everything's going to be okay as long as I follow the rules, as long as I get up, as long as I do what I'm supposed to do day after day, week in, week out, year in, year out. Over time, everything's going to be okay. That's what we're led to believe. But this is the system that wasn't built for you. And those rules weren't written for you. And what am I talking about here? Well, think about this. When we're putting our money into systems that we don't control, that we don't get to say how we can use it, when we can use it without penalty, most professionals are just deferring their money, postponing their taxes, and tying their money up, and their money becomes trapped. And that lack of liquidity, that lack of actually having a foundation that you have control over, that is guaranteed to grow and protect your family. Well, those 401ks, the IRAs, locking your money in real estate, all those things lead to liquidity, illiquidity, like no money available. And your capital, when it's tied up with strings, penalties, and needing permission, doesn't really give you control. And it's also subconsciously going to really weigh on you because when you know change is coming, you know an event is coming, the longer that you avoid protecting the system, protecting yourself, the more stress, worry, anxiety, which is going to compound into more health problems. I spoke with someone earlier today, a wonderful, super smart, intelligent woman who is in the prime of her earning stages. And because of how she feels about how she is, one of the best in her business, but I could feel how she felt about her work and how she felt about what she does for a living and the stress it was causing her. And I believe, I don't know this, I'm not a doctor, believe it or not, but I believe that was causing her to have physical manifestations of the problems, which compounds and makes us less control. I'm getting a little off topic, but the insight is that the control isn't selfish, it's service. Again, control isn't selfish, it's service. It's how you're able to provide in a moment of crisis or a moment of opportunity. When you're in crisis, can you still provide? And legacy isn't about what we leave behind. It's about what keeps going, what continues after we're gone. What systems and processes have you put in place for your family, for your community, for those that you really care about to make sure that this system, this earning machine, you is protected? And that death benefit isn't, that guaranteed tax-free estate isn't just a payout. It's not just something that avoids probate and all the other great things it does. It's continuity. It's permission to continue what you started to build. And I know many of you are looking for that. You're looking for that continuity, that family, right? Constitution, the trust system, the Rockefeller waterfall method. And that is all what we're building together. We're building the systems and processes to keep and control our money that we're working so hard for. It's a completely different way of thinking. Again, it is simple, but I'm definitely not telling you it's easy. But what it says to your family, what it says to the loved ones around you, you're going to be okay because I planned for it. I sat down and I thought what the future might look like. I thought about generations from now. And this is the hardest work we have. I actually think this is the hardest thing for anyone here. I know it is for me personally, is to sit down and really do that exercise of what do things look like 10 years from now? What do they look like 3 years from now? What are the things I put in place? And what are the little steps that lead me to that big vision, right? We always start with our big, big vision out here. We bring it down to the present, to where we're at today, and we build the steps one step at a time. Sometimes we're getting a little ahead of ourselves and we're trying to take 3 or 4 steps. We're not quite ready to take that big of a step. But it's taking those small discipline actions. And that way, if something happens to you, God forbid, you graduate, the money that comes, a tax-free estate, it replaces the income. It clears the debts. It funds a trust. It creates generational impact and opportunity. And the legacy isn't measured in the numbers, it's measured in the system that is built because of the structure that you've left and you've taught and the people you've put in place that run your systems. That's where the freedom comes from. You have systems and operations in place that are there for when you're not. It gives your family a lot more than money. It gives them confidence. It gives them confidence that they can go do and create and be who they want to be. It's not a transaction, right? What we're talking about is not a transaction. It's a system, a signal, a structure that says, keep going. And if you're new here, go ahead and smash the like button, ring the bell. It might just turn orange, as Connor Patrick likes to say, as he's squeezing oranges today in a video, making himself some homemade orange juice. But keep ringing that bell so you're alerted to new content. Come on the Infinite Banking Bus. The offer is always there, whether you're ready today, tomorrow, some other day. I know we've got some new folks here. Welcome to the Infinite Banking Bus. It's a big bus. There's plenty of room. It just takes you to train, to test, and to teach, the 3 T's. So your takeaways for today: you do not need a bigger paycheck. Yes, you can want a bigger paycheck. You can want to earn more income. You can go find ways to do so. But what you really need is a better system. Ask yourself, if you couldn't show up tomorrow, would your financial life keep moving? Would things keep going the way that they are today? Would your business, your family, your impact keep going, or would it pause? Or would your system that you've designed keep going? Same question, just asked different ways. But IBC, the infinite banking concept, and these specially engineered for you whole life policies, cash rich whole life policies with mutually owned, dividend paying whole life companies, gives high earners and builders like yourselves a system that keeps you strong, protected through setbacks, transitions, and even through legacy, through graduation, through your big event. It's inevitable. Sorry to tell you, but it is inevitable. And you're not, again, preparing out of fear. You prepare because it's what builders do. Ask yourself, write this down, just yes or no. Would your financial life keep moving? Would it keep moving if you weren't around? If the answer is no, you need a better system, one that's going to protect your family, one that has you changing the one thing, which is just paying yourself first. Remember what the wealthiest families have been doing since 1910, paying themselves 38%. The richest man in Babylon tells us we need to pay ourselves at least 10%. When you make that one change and you build a system, you're already eons ahead of 95% of Americans. Remember, you're in a very, very select small group being here each and every week. So if your financial philosophy looks like mine did several years ago, doing what I learned, what my parents taught me, what my peers taught me, showing up first, leaving last, working hard, being humble, adding value, being polite, not speaking up, just making sure you got the work done to the best of your ability. You're already aware. When I said this, and if you nodded your head, you are already aware that this does not equal financial freedom. It's actually the exact opposite. It means that you're showing up in that system that was built to contain you, built to groom you to give up control, built for you to take on the risk. Let that land. If you're still showing up only that way, there's nothing wrong with all those things. They are great values, great virtues to have. But if that is how you're showing up, this is a recipe that keeps their system running. It is providing financial freedom and security to the banks, to Wall Street, and to the government, not to you. That is not protecting your most valuable asset, you. To change this pattern, it's simple. Again, not easy, but it starts with training yourself by educating, by being here, by becoming your own banker. The banker is a verb. It's not become your own bank. That is just what we're using for the facility. Banker is the verb of banking. It is like any virtue must be lived. It is an action. Everything must be followed by action, right? When you take action, that's when things will change. So take action, schedule a call with me. If you're ready, if you've been training and you haven't started testing yet, then schedule a call with me. Go to jasonsipple.com, get more resources. Share this with other folks that need to interrupt that financial pattern and realize, hey, you earn enough money. You're doing amazing as a builder. It is now time to build a system that is going to protect you. To take this all around, to wrap it up with a pretty little bow, you're not just earning a paycheck, you're leading a life that others are depending on. And true leadership isn't about how much you make, it's about what keeps moving when you don't or you can't. We talked about how IBC, the infinite banking concept, gives you access, confidence, and control. Not someday, but today. You've learned how professionals are ensuring the real asset, their role, yourself, how they're putting in place a system that says, even if I can't show up, my plan will. Because legacy isn't a number, it's a real structure, one that carries your leadership forward. So here's your moment of truth. If you couldn't show up tomorrow, would your family, your business, your impact keep going? If the answer made you pause, that's not fear. That is clarity. Take a moment and thank God for that clarity. It's your signal that you need a system now. Now, not yesterday, not 2 years from now, now. You're not reacting, you're preparing because that's what builders do. You've worked hard, you've built something real, income, influence, impact. But the real question is what happens if it stops? If you don't have that answer, if you don't have your system, now is the time to start. When's a better time than now? So scan that QR code, subscribe if you're new, smash the like button, ring the bell to be alerted to keep you alerted to new content, how you can take back control of your money and become your own banker. Invite others to our big infinite banking bus. The system, you guys, it's getting more and more people every week. There's plenty of room. I know we're in the summer. Bring a friend. Remember, this is a process, a skill, and if you don't know it yet, that's okay. Remember the three-letter word, yet. I don't know it yet. As always, thank you for giving me your most valuable resource, your attention, your energy, your focus. I am insanely blessed to have the privilege to learn and to share and to test and to teach and to train each and every one of you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video, making sure that we will continue our journey together for taking back control of your money and protecting your most valuable asset, you. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Be blessed.